Now, what about some of the environment conditions? Now, of course, outdoors, temperature, humidity, CO2, you don't have any control over that. But for the indoor growers, they're doing things. They're changing the temperature, they're changing the humidity, the CO2 levels, they're adjusting all that in order to try to get a better flavor. Can any of those environmental conditions impact the terpenes that are produced?
Absolutely. Your CO2 level that the plant takes in is part of its ability to photosynthesize, right? Ability to take compounds and convert them from photons, convert them into sugars, and pass those sugars along. Your airflow is extremely important. Your humidity levels, the amount of moisture the plant can transpire at one time, will dictate the amount of nutrients being taken up, which will dictate the chemo profile or the chemotype of the plant, which is just the different mixtures of compounds that the plant takes up over time inside your environment is going to dictate what the end result is going to. So everything down to your CO2, to your air exchange, to the type of photon the lights are going to put out, are eventually going to create a different biochemical effect and result inside the plant. Probably more so indoors because you have to act like God and you have to fine tune all the little different details of everything. Whereas nature itself has been evolving millions and millions of years to perfectly provide the perfect condition for plants to grow and to mature in different latitudes and longitudes and just generally how the plant's going to develop and evolve. Indoors it's so much more fine tuned, and you can really see how much of an impact just even your CO2 levels will have, your PAR readings will have, your how much water the plant takes up throughout the life cycle, because that's hydrogen and oxygen content that the plant's going to turn into other molecules that have hydrogens and oxygens into it.
Okay, so for temperature and humidity and CO2, is there a specific temperature that you tell people to aim for, and humidity that you tell them to aim for, and then CO2 level that you tell people to aim for in order to get the most terpenes?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to environmental conditions that are favorable for the plant just to do what it naturally does. We are aiding in the process of these plants growing. We can't really control much. You're kind of putting you can control your environment, and then you put a plant in there and it's going to react to whatever the variables that the environment gets to. And that's where your different phenotypical expressions come from. Everybody talks about phenotypes, this, phenotypes, that. I mean, really, if you want to get down to it, phenotypes and like what the plant expresses, like what terpenes it produces, is all dependent on what your environment is. And different environments, you can take the same cultivar and just put it in a different environment, and the plant will produce more limonene, or a plant will produce more citrine, or the plant will produce more myrcene or beta caryophyllene. The only thing you changed was the lighting, the CO2, and the humidity inside of it, and it will completely give you completely different flavor profile, or even just a slightly different profile, and just give you a very slight different expression. That's kind of the beauty of it, is we're all growers and we're all kind of building these rooms, and then the kind of like a part of your soul goes into it, and then you can see what you did and how a living organism responds to it. In my eyes, that's like the coolest part of growing is being the curator of it. So I mean, I like to keep my temperatures pretty stable. I like it depending on your photon output is gonna tell you where to put your temperatures and where you're gonna put your CO2. And to directly answer your question, you have people 1,200, 1,400 part per million of CO2. Ambient CO2 outside is about 400 ppm. You see people start at 700 in veg and go up to 12, 1,400 and flower to keep up with the photosynthesis rates. Then you have the LEDs output, usually a more efficient photon usage. And so the plant's getting a better spread of photons across the board, and for it to hitting the plant. And photon nutrition goes into elemental nutrition. So your LEDs that are going to be pushing the plant to its maximum growth rate is going to require higher temperatures. It's going to require more CO2, and it's going to require more nutrients. Your plants are going to, purple stem on you if you don't keep up with the nutrient load, because all the energy is going to be used up taking care of the photons hitting the plant. So, on humidity too dry, the plant's going to suffer. Too moist, you're going to grow mold. So I like to stick between the 40 to 60% range. as far as humidity goes. All these factors really goes down to the type of cultivar you're growing, the variety, because those are going to, some come from dry areas, some come from very wet tropical areas. And it really depends on what you're growing as far as the type of environment and the type of lights, the humidity, whatever you're going to be throwing at the plant. The plant's going to biochemically take that and create that into its own profile.
This clip is brought to you by AC Infinity. Use discount code MrGrow at 15 to save on any of their products.